Oh my gosh, I don't know if you heard the news, but they're declaring that President Donald Trump and the leaders of Iran have come to an official ceasefire agreement. I want you to mark your calendars for June 19th because both parties, the Iranians and the Americans, are going to fly over to Switzerland on June 19th to officially sign this peace deal. Now, the stock market's going crazy with oil. It's back down to $81 per barrel, okay? This is breaking urgent news. This is territory that we have not seen yet since this war began because let's be honest, 2026 has been absolutely insane. Like, let's not forget the fact that President Trump captured Maduro, Venezuela, then they took out the gang leaders just a couple of days ago. Like, there has been a whole lot going on. But in this video, I'm going to break down what the ceasefire means, whether you should believe that it's going to stand long term, and this may be your best window to get out of America at affordable flight prices, because I'm expecting that the flight prices should come back down a little bit before jumping back up and affecting the food supply chain. Now, of course, this ceasefire creates a few emerging questions like, will energy flow as normal? Now, economists and brokers and investors have been saying and warning the food supply chain, the gas, the fertilizer in the United States of America is at risk, even if they were to end the war months ago, over 6 weeks ago, if they would have ended it. But here we are in June, and they're coming to a ceasefire agreement in 4 days is what they're saying. But your food supply chain will still be affected going into winter. But if regional tensions decrease, energy markets may begin pricing in low disruption risk. Lower means lower insurance costs. That's going to be a win, okay? More predictable shipping and greater business confidence. Even the small changes are going to matter here because when millions of barrels move daily, tiny price adjustments create massive economic consequences. Our next question, are the airlines going to expand their routes? Remember when this event, this war, this conflict first started in the Middle East. Over 20 Gulf states were impacted, including Dubai, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Jordan, basically all the Gulf states in the Middle East because they have good relations with the United States of America and President Donald Trump. Iran started firing missiles, but in the absence of missiles firing, assuming they come to a true ceasefire, sign it, and stay on one accord with it, will tickets through these areas decrease? Will you be able to book your flights from a Doha, Qatar into a Kenya, into a Mauritius, into a South Africa? Because oftentimes Istanbul, Turkey, Doha, Qatar, Dubai of the United Arab Emirates, these are like your top popular places to go ahead and get a layover to get into the continent, into Asia. The Middle East is your gateway to the entire world, okay? And some of you that have booked your tickets and come out of America since the war have started know how crazy those prices were, and you're like, I gotta get out of here before this gets too crazy, okay? Especially with this ceasefire, because it's seeming like they've really been doing like a war and then sudden destruction, as quoted by Yahushua the Messiah in the book of Matthew, where it's like rumors of war. This is gonna happen. There's gonna be prophecies. There's gonna be signs in the sky. There's gonna be a war of the nations. So they're going to say, you know, peace here, peace there, we're gonna get along now, and then boom, sudden destruction is supposed to hit. And I want you to leave a comment down below if you think this moment is that, hey, they're saying peace, but it's not going to be like that. There's even an economist from China who is super popular right now. He has been on Diary of a CEO, and he said that he actually believes this war is going to be a long-standing 20-year war like America and Iraq, okay? Are investors going to reallocate their capital back into the Middle East, or is it too late? Because Dubai was hit pretty bad. But as I'm saying this, I realized, hey, I should tell you about the 23rd edition of the urgent State of the Diaspora. Why is this urgent? Because we have a literal ceasefire that could come into fruition June 19th, which could give you your ticket out of the United States of America at a lower rate than what they have been at. You know, the prices have been crazy. You know, Spirit Airlines just closed down. You know, even Canadian flights have been crazy. European flights have been crazy. Flights all over the world have been insane. And if you have been eyeing this channel as an expat, maybe you eye even other channels of expats going to Asia and Vietnam and Thailand and this, and you've been looking even at Japan and you're like, wow, things are changing and I'm not sure if it's for the better. This could be your last ticket out, your last chance where the Most High is like, hey, there is a grace level because the war is just suddenly just a little bit ending. This could be your time to exit. I know when we exited America as a family of 5 back then, we exited in the middle of C19. We are experts at exiting in the middle of crisis. There is no better time to start moving than in times of crisis. Actually, I truly believe this. Even in business, you know how it is where your brain just works a little bit better. You're a little bit more efficient with a little pressure. I mean, there are studies to back this up. This could be your moment, but there is a caveat. I only have 10 seats open for the state of the diaspora, okay? Link in the description. Your investment is $105. We are going over the 5 best countries for expats in Africa because the most astounding thing that I've witnessed from 2025 to 2026 in both the mature adult intensive and the state of the diaspora, both of our top programs, is that we had expats who were in Mexico, Belize, Brazil, who wanted to look at a Botswana, a Namibia, a Mauritius, a Kenya. They wanted to come to the continent with long-term stability in mind and residency, not jumping around 30, 60, 90-day visas, looking at healthcare, looking at their residence options, looking at their international banking options before they ever get on a plane to leave America. But then in 2026, you know what happened? We started getting people that were in Thailand, in Vietnam, in Japan saying, hey, I'm kind of tired of being in Asia. I want to come over to the continent of Africa, but I don't understand how Africa works. I don't know how those residencies work. I don't know how anti-corruption works. I hear there's things I need to watch out for and be prepared for before I even touch ground on the continent. This is your time. This is your chance to shine and come to the continent. But there are only 5 of the best countries that we recommend. Our clients have been astounding. Now we have served over 100 clients between both programs, the State of the Diaspora and the Mature Adult Intensive. So this is your time. The State of the Diaspora 5-in-1 edition comes up on June 28th at 11 a.m. Eastern. And I hope to see you in the room because I'll be there. Can we talk about these investors for a moment? Because let's be real. If you were unaware, Dubai is made up of 90% expats. Yes, Dubai. The United Arab Emirates, Dubai, has also come out with a 10-year freelance residency permit saying that you only need to make $4,000 as a freelancer to get 10 years residence. This is for consultants, lawyers, entrepreneurs, investors, all those types of people that we serve in our marketing agency, www.tiffygrights.ai. But here's the thing. Once you see pressure like that, once you see missiles falling out the sky, once you see people being trapped under the garage space in their condos, you may not be likely to actually invest in Dubai again. And this is what I'm talking about. Will investors reallocate their funds? Are people going to be more trusting of the Middle East? Or is this like an irreversible door where it's like, hey, we just want to go to Africa. We just want to go to Mauritius. We just want to go to South Africa. We just want to invest in Ghana and Kenya and Ethiopia. These are top investment destinations on the continent of Africa, okay? Mauritius being the #1 for doing business. You should check out the Mauritius Africa playlist. If you have not heard of this little island I live on in the Indian Ocean, on the African tectonic plate, okay? But governments know this. Corporations know this as well, which is why major diplomatic events often trigger economic activity before citizens like you and I even notice what's happening. Now, if we were to look at history, we would see 2 core things: reconstruction, rebuilding the old ruined places, and new relations, aka strategic partnerships that are going to be emerging out of the dust here. Now, the United States of America has all of her allies in the Middle East like Saudi Arabia, Dubai, Qatar, all those folks, but they may be also thinking, hold on, we need to also be a little bit more neutral with Iran. so they don't hurt our economy like this. Because let's face it, Dubai was hit the hardest. Saudi Arabia was hit too. Qatar Airlines losing millions and billions of dollars. I mean, the airlines, the tourism economy in the Middle East has been shot. Remember, these areas are desert areas, okay? So they're not really dependent on agriculture. They're so dependent on tourism, financial services, things of that nature. They don't really have a lot going for them aside from the fact that they were able to build and create economies that expats wanted to come to, okay? Understand that. Aside from that, if you endanger these things, these economies quite literally collapse, which is why the Gulf states could be looking to be a little bit more neutral with Iran. Maybe next time something like this comes around, they won't be as willing to take the United States of America's side. But I want to know what you think down below. Do you think that would happen? Do you think the Gulf states would kind of switch, especially with de-dollarization, especially with the fact that Saudi Arabia did not renew their contract with OPEC, okay? OPEC is a conglomerate that focuses on oil distribution from the Middle East to America, because America used to not have oil, but since President Donald Trump captured the president of Venezuela, now America is the top oil exporter on earth, which just absolutely sounds crazy because it's not technically our oil, but you know how Western societies are. Britain, Spain, Germany, Portugal, America, you know, they're all cousins, a part of the same colonization tree. It's just neo-colonialism. Now, the next pattern that we are going to see, which could honestly be the most important, is the geographical winners. This is where you relocate, where you invest, where you retire comes into play. Don't let anybody tell you it's not about the location. Location is everything. Jurisdiction is everything. Even if we were to talk from a spiritual sense, you know that there are principalities and jurisdictions that have authority in certain realms of the earth, and it's the same thing physically. Jurisdiction, where you are located, is everything. You have to be in a territory that is neutral to the United States of America. You must be in a territory that has not shut down their embassies, because again, Africa lost 30 U.S. embassies in a span of like a week, it feels like, to be quite honest, because they announced it and they closed down, boom. Meaning there are really only 20 African countries that you can even like live in long term, because you're going to need that U.S. embassy to renew your passport. You're going to need that U.S. embassy if you have children abroad to get a certified birth certificate abroad. How do I know? Because we've been through it 3 times. These are things that we know because we have actually encountered them multiple times. You are going to need that embassy if something happens, okay? So you cannot just jump across the border. If your passport is already expired, you're not going to be able to go anywhere. This is the planning that needs to take place. This is the strategy that you have to have in mind. But not only that, but when we talk about geographical winners, we're thinking about countries like Mauritius, countries like Dubai, or sorry, not Dubai, countries like Thailand, Vietnam. Some of these places got an increase, a huge increase in expatriates, people that were millionaires leaving Dubai, expats that were already looking to move abroad, and then expats that were maybe tired of like the old ways of Portugal digital nomadism, and they didn't really want to be in Spain or France either, because you have a lot of European expats exiting as well. And so they're looking at, hey, Vietnam, Mauritius, Philippines, Thailand, places like that, because they also care about anti-corruption. They don't want to be in the worst of the worst African countries. And there are some worst of the worst Asian countries as well. Like, all countries are not created equal, but they need sustainability. They need somewhere where their business is going to be able to flourish and they can pass down generational wealth 5, 10, 20 years at a time. There are only a handful of nations on this earth where that is actually available. But the largest story here really is not even the ceasefire. This story is actually about you, because let's be honest, the biggest story here is positioning and what you do next. Wow, by the time the average person realizes a major shift has occurred, institutions have often been repositioning for months, okay? Large corporations do not wait for certainty. They prepare for multiple scenarios simultaneously. Governments do not bet on just one outcome. Even entrepreneurs do not just bet on one source of revenue. They create contingency plans, like we create with our clients in the State of the Diaspora and also in the Mature Adult Intensive. Links to both of those are down below. High net worth families do not wait until crisis arrives. They build optionality beforehand. Optionality has become the most valuable asset in this modern, unstable world. So ask yourself these questions. Do I have geographical options? What are my geographical options? You may want to list those out on a sheet of paper. Do I have multiple income streams? If not, I encourage you to stay in the United States of America, Canada, the United Kingdom, Spain, France, Germany, wherever, Australia, until you do. Do I understand global economic trends? Could I relocate if circumstances changed? And am I dependent on just one system? Now, I am a huge fan, for the sake of not only myself, my husband, but our children, and our children's children, and my mother and my brother, and people in my family, people in my circle. I am a huge fan of getting multiple residences. I have my passport from America as an American citizen, right? But then I can have a second residency, a temporary or permanent residency in places like a Mauritius, like a Kenya, like a Rwanda, right? Those are some of your best ones right now that still have U.S. embassies open. Shout out to East Africa, because a lot of their U.S. embassies are remaining open on that Swahili coast. But do you have those networks? I have a network in Tanzania. I've not been in Tanzania in years, but literally I was messaging someone earlier today in my network that used to work for us in Tanzania, okay? Do you have that network, or are you in rooms with advisors and people who are focused on global mobility, study global mobility literally day in and day out? Can you tap into that network somehow? And, I'm just grateful for you that it's not that expensive to do that, because when we left in 2020, there really weren't any networks to East Africa the way there are now. There really wasn't anybody that we knew in Mauritius. There wasn't anything that could tell us. The way we found out about it is visa-free African countries for Americans. Boom. Mauritius is on the list. We did our research, we did our due diligence, didn't know anybody on the ground, popped up on over here, and somehow it just worked a little bit too perfectly, too easily, because that's what happens when you have anti-corruption measures in place, when you have a country that's neutral to American citizens, when you have a country that is investing and cares about morality and how to have morals in these times. Because if you go to the wrong place, crime is going to increase, presidents change, and then there's going to be more corruption, protests, just utter chaos. But when you choose the right country, it can seem like paradise. Like it's just too easy. Like you're almost like, wow, is it this simple over here? And then you get into other networks with expats on the island or in similar areas, and it's like, oh, it does work when countries use this specific framework, similar to a Vietnam, a Mauritius, a Thailand, these places that are known to attract global expats. That matters. Now, my friend, I want to tell you about two different scenarios, Family A and Family B. Leave a comment down below and let me know which one you are a part of. Family A consumes headlines, reacts emotionally, makes decisions based on fear, has no contingency plan, because they may say things like, oh, I don't need to plan, or oh, I shouldn't have to pay money to plan, or oh, I don't need to strategize, I don't need to start a business, I don't need to get things situated in America. I can just jump off the plane with my Wells Fargo and Chase Bank and Bank of America bank accounts, and everything will function just like America, with no second option, no strategic framework. Now, Family B studies trends, understands geopolitical risk, maintains flexibility and optionality. They build skills, income, they diversify in the marketplace, and they build mobility not just for themselves, but for their children, their children's children, their nieces, their nephews. Everybody that is in contact with them ends up being blessed for generations to come, because they created options before they needed them. 5 years later, which family is more likely to feel secure? I mean, will Family A even make it to 5 years later as an expat abroad? Let me know. History provides the answer repeatedly. Preparation always outperforms reaction. Do not be reactionatory. Or if you are self-aware and you know you're someone that's reactionatory, you know you get exhausted quickly, you know you don't have the capacity to understand your geopolitical risk, your global mobility score, evaluate residency options, then we do invite you to join the Mature Adult Intensive or the State of the Diaspora. The Mature Adult Intensive Cohort 10 is 4 weeks on July 5th. The State of the Diaspora is a one-time group session with more than 4 people that just spans 90 minutes, but you get access to the 5-in-1 State of the Diaspora, showing you the top 10 to 20 bank accounts in Africa, more specifically South and Eastern Africa, which residency permits that you could even get in somewhere like Cape Verde, that, by the way, has a self-employed digital nomad visa just like the one we are on in Mauritius. And you get to see who is still visa-free for Americans, because things are changing so much in times of war. Now, whether this ceasefire can span the test of time, we don't know, okay? We can't necessarily predict the future, but what we can see for a certainty, trade routes are changing, alliances are being redetermined, migration patterns are shifting, technology is accelerating at a rate like never before, and governments are adapting. So the question isn't, is change actually going to come? It's, change is already here. What are you going to do about it? You know, the families that survive through this and come out on top may not even be the wealthiest, because let's be honest, Spirit Airlines had millions and millions of dollars. It's not always about having the most wealth, but having a proper strategy and contingency plan. The businesses that make it out of this, again, may not be the largest, because how many Macy's have shut down? How many CVS pharmacies have shut down in America? These are super conglomerates. Instead, the businesses, the retirees, the families that survive and weather the storm and come out on top are the most prepared. They've done the evaluations. They have done the systematic thinking. They have got in rooms with global advisors who have seen this thing up close, study geopolitical trends, see the de-dollarization, but also see the opportunities abroad and how they need to be in neutral territories. And the people who receive and maintain and endure with their peace of mind may have not even future paced every event or seen everything coming. They may simply be the ones who prepared for several possible futures, okay? This is your sign. Don't panic, but you do need to position. I want to leave you with this if you're listening to this video. Luke 21:35, or is it Luke 21:15? One of the two. The Most High will give you wisdom and intelligence that even your adversaries will not be able to refute. Shalom, shalom. I'll see you in the next video. Let me know your plans down below. And you should, after this video, be looking at the airline flights. Get on Expedia, get on Cheapo Air, get on Kenya Airways, get on Mauritius Airways, Dubai Airways, Qatari Airways. See what's happening. Get in the room. Check out the links in the description, and I'll see you next time.